G'day folks, Andy here from Aussie Homesteads, and another one in the series of working on Fisher and Paykel washing machines, top loaders, 8.5 kilo. And one of the biggest issues that these things have, and one of the most common problems, is out of balance issues. And it's the washing machines have these control arms in them, and I'll show you one of them. They look like this. They have a heavy weight on the bottom of them, and then this red ring, and that's the red ring that'll be retained down in there. And I'll show you that in a second. And then they have this plastic formation at the top and the little red clip. And that little red clip is what you clip what you push the lid into. So again, I won't bore you to tears with taking the top off and the lid off. We've done that in other videos. Just go back through the other videos and have a look at the washing machine videos, and you'll see how to take the top off. Really easy, 4 screws. To change these balance arms out is really very straightforward and very easy on Fisher and Paykel. Fisher and Paykel are quite innovative when it comes to assembling things and disassembling things, which makes my job a lot easier. So most of the washing machines like Simpson and that, you actually have to flip the washing machine on its side and pull that control arm out through the basin. So you can't do it from the top. But Fisher and Paykel got real clever, and they made a really easy system with this red clipping clip. Okay, so that's the new suspension arms. There's 4 of those, and I'll go through and show you. Okay, so we've removed the top, what I call the drip cover. That's just got a little drain in it, and when you get splashing from your washing machine, it drains back into the bowl instead of running down the side of the washing machine. And we removed that, same as we've done in other videos. Unclip the bias spring. The bias spring's attached to this back one, and it drops down into there, but we'll get that back in a second. But I'll show you. So there's 4 suspension arms on it, and these are the 2 front ones, and you'll notice that they have that little red tab in them, and when you look at the back ones, they don't have that little red tab in them. These are all universal. They all fit every corner. Only difference is you've got to put those little red tabs into the front ones. So to get those little red tabs out, what you do is get a pair of pliers and pop them out like that, and keep those, because we're going to need those. If the new sets don't come with the these little red tabs, so I tend to collect them off of older washing machines. And we'll get rid of those. And now what we've got is the suspension arms with the plastic surrounds that fit into the corners, and they slot into the corners, and they're really easy. You pick them up and pull them out. Now, first thing I'll explain is, when you put these back together, don't make the common mistake that people make. You'll notice that there's 2 screw holes in the front one. This is the front right hand. There's 2 screw holes in the front left hand. But when you do the back ones, do not put a screw in that hole there. And I'll explain why. Only put a screw in that corner and that corner. The reason you don't put a screw in that one is because you'll notice that the hole in the lid, or the top, you screw it down through that hole into the metal, and that's what holds the lid down. And there's four screws in every top of every washing machine like that. So just be careful that you don't put a screw into there, because you'll go to screw your lid down and there's already a screw in there. You'll notice that these are all universal, so those red tabs can fit into any one of the 4. Now, the reason that we don't have to flip the washing machine on its side is, I'll show you. I'll point it out with a screwdriver. You might be able to see it. Down there is a little slot, and that slot means that we can push that little red tab out, and that's that red tab that I showed you on the suspension arm. That bit there clips into the outer housing. So this is your inner part of your washing machine, where your water sits in there and your clothes sits in there, and the agitator goes round and round and round. But this outer casing is what holds the suspension arms, and the water actually sits in here. It fills up, and that's what controls your water level and all that sort of thing. Now, Fisher and Paykel's have an outer balance sensor, and as soon as they start thrashing themselves all over the laundry floor, they will shut themselves down and come up with an error code, and it's caused by a bend in one of these arms. So it's usually when people transport them, this thing sort of thrashes around in the truck, and you put the tiniest little bend in one of these 4 suspension arms, and you will get an out of balance issue. And it is one of the most common problems in Fisher and Paykel washing machines. I'd say 90% of my repairs are replacing these balance arms. So it usually happens because a lot of people transport them, they don't stand them up, they lie them down. And that puts a bend in these suspension rods. They are fairly thick metal, and I'm going to say that they're fairly thick metal. and they're quite strong metal. So there you go. I'll just show you that universal corner, because it's actually got a clip there that holds all the wiring at the back, and every one of the 4 of them are identical. The only difference is you've got to remember to put those red tabs in the front ones. Okay, so let's get the old one out and pop a new one in. I'm going to do one. I won't bore you to tears and do all 4. They're all the same. So all you've got to do is make sure you pop your screws out, because when you lift your lid up, there'll be 2 screws in there. And then it's clipped in to the outer basin down there. And it's a bit tricky to do it with one hand, but I'll see if I can show you how to do it. Okay, so you get hold of this part here. Get under your arm, under your hand, and pull up. And when you pull up, you can release it down. Okay? Now what we've got to do is get that little red tab. Let me see if I can get this out the darn way. Yeah, so you can see what I'm doing. I mean, I can do this basically blindfolded. Done that many of them. Okay, so you get rid of that white bit out the way. Let me see if I can hook him on top of that torch there. Okay. No, it's not going to move out the way. All right, well, we'll just do it this way. Okay, so what you do is you get a screwdriver, and that red tab that I showed you on the stem, push it down. And all we've done, basically, now you'll see how it comes out. So that's the red tab there. And it's got like these little push-out fittings on it, so it squeezes in and it squeezes out. And you'll notice down there that there is a circle with a slot in it. So it allows us to be able to push that red tab down and then pull the arm up the side of the machine. So we don't even have to flip this machine over to be able to do them. So you take the old one out, make sure you don't mix them up with the new ones. You can order a set of those suspension arms on eBay for about 45 bucks. In there. And this is going to be the new one that we're going to put in. So we'll call this a front one because it's got a red tab in it, but I mean, you can put a red tab into it. Really straightforward process. Now, to do the new suspension arm, all you do is quite the opposite of what we just did, but you don't need a screwdriver. You just feed it into the slot there, like that. Line up that little red thing, that red little round plastic thing, and pull up. And what that does is it locks it into the outer basin. All right, so that's locked in down there now. So all we have to do now is the opposite, pull up and slot it into the front like that. Remember to put your red tabs in, and that is a new one replaced. I mean, if I wasn't doing it one-handed, I could probably do it in 10 seconds, but I'm trying to show you guys as best as I can because there isn't much room down there. You can just get your hand in. I tend to put a clamp on that corner over there when I'm working on this one so I can see what I'm doing. But generally, you can just do it by feel. So you can get your screwdriver and you can go down there and you can just push on that red tab and it just unclips. Okay, so there's a little rubber washer down there. Those little rubber washers go all the way down to the bottom, and I'll show you on the one that's out. So all I did there was clip that red tab into the outer basin, and then this little rubber washer comes down on top of it. And all that does is keeps the water out of going into here, because these things are spring-loaded and they're weighted. So what they do is they push up and down. They've got a big spring in them. And when your washing machine fills up with water, they drop down. That's why your bowl drops down. But it still allows it to be able to move up and down with the springs that are in them. And these are fairly heavy weights. I mean, it needs a fair bit of weight to keep it in balance. So there you go. That's how you change out the suspension arms on a Fisher and Paykel washing machine. Only difference between the front and the back, as I say, is remember those two screws. And on the back of this one, now if you notice that this one here, that's where the wires are that come from the motor control unit down to the motor and the pump. And you'll notice that these plastic mouldings, as I say, all four are the same, they have this part here. It's like a little hook, and those wires just hook into there. There's only one corner with the wires, and it's the back right-hand corner. But as I say, you can buy a new set of those, about 50 bucks on eBay, and you can fix a $1,200 washing machine for about 50 bucks if it's got an out of balance issue. So there you go. All you got to do is replace all four. I won't bore you to tears because they're all four exactly the same. Only difference is that this back one has that what's called a bias spring on it. And it's a spring, and I'll find him, I always drop down to the bottom and they're really hard to get out. And that there is the bias spring. At back left hand corner is the only one with the spring. And that spring comes across and clips into the lid. And I'll show you where it clips in. When we finish putting all the four arms in and we put the top cover back on again, there is a tiny little red clip there. And what that spring does is that goes into there. And what that does is, because the pump is on this side of the washing machine, this bowl tends to lean this way. So what that bias spring does is it just keeps it back towards the left-hand corner. So basically it's just keeping it in balance. It doesn't really have much of another job, because the weight it wants to keep shifting to the right. What they did was they fitted a bias spring to keep this thing central. So there you go. I hope that helps someone. It's a really simple process on Fisher and Paykel washing machines, guys. I mean, I've been doing this for 22 years, and as I say, I think 80% to 90% of my work is replacing those suspension arms. So I hope that helps someone. All you do then is put it all back together again, push your lid in, screw it down at the back, and then put your washing machine back together and test it. And you'll find that you've fixed your out of balance issue for about 45 bucks. Anyway, I hope that helps someone. It's Andy here from Aussie Homesteads. If you've got any questions, chuck them in the comments. And it's Andy here from Aussie Homesteads signing out until the next one.